Dracula on a boat. Let's get into it. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the In Love with Horror YouTube channel. My name is AJ, and I'm going to be giving you a non-spoiler review of the Last Voyage of the Demeter, or is it Demeter? The Last Voyage of the Demeter, I think. Now, the way that I'm going to break down this non-spoiler review is I'm going to give you information about the film, like what it's about, who directed it, who wrote it, and then I'll dive into what I liked and what I didn't like, and then give you a conclusion at the end of the video. All right, so for those of you that don't know, The Last Voyage of the Demeter is actually an adaptation of the Captain's Log chapter from the 1897 novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, the plot of the story follows the doomed crew of the merchant ship Demeter, led by Captain Elliot, who attempts to survive the treacherous ocean voyage from Transylvania to London while being stalked by a legendary vampire known only as Dracula. Now, this film was directed by Andre Overdahl, and you may remember Andre Overdahl because he directed films like Troll Hunter that came out in 2010, The Autopsy of Jane Doe that came out in 2016, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which came out in 2019, and that actually had some assistance from Guillermo del Toro on that one. And then his most recent film, Mortal, which came out in 2020. So, I mean, you know, he's got some movies under his belt that I actually do like, such as Autopsy of Jane Doe and Scary Story to Tell in the Dark. And also, I really like Troll Hunter. That movie was actually really fucking cool. Now, the film story is written by Brigitte F. Schut. You may know of him from films such as both Escape Rooms, Escape Room 1 from 2019, and Escape Room Tournament of Champions in 2021. He also wrote that Sylvester Stallone superhero film, Samaritan, that came out on Amazon. I thought that was actually pretty good, too. And it looks like the screenplay for this film was done by Zach Olkowicz. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'm so sorry about that, y'all. And it looks like he's got a lot of different credits. He did the screenplay for the Netflix film Fear Street Part 2, 1978. He also did the screenplay for Bullet Train as well. And he's also a co-producer on Lights Out. So he's got some great things under his belt as well. Now, some of the cast for this film includes Corey Hawkins, Aisling Franciosi, Liam Cunningham, David Dastmalchian, Chris Wally, John Briones, Stefan Kapachik, Martin Furland, Nikolai Nikolaev, Woody Norman, and Javier Botet. Of note, Javier Botet plays Dracula in this film because they actually did have quite a few practical moments of, you know, Dracula actually in makeup on the boat, which is actually pretty dope. And another note, Woody Norman, who plays the kid Toby in this film, was actually in the recent horror film Cobweb. He played the kid Peter in that movie. That's pretty cool too. Now, unfortunately, because I'm recording this review on Monday after the weekend has concluded, unfortunately, The Last Voyage of the Demeter did not do too hot box office wise this weekend. It only made around $6.5 million, which is fucking rough, and it's actually really disappointing because I actually like the film. It's kind of wild because even the Meg 2, The Trench, did better than this, making almost double, which is just fucking crazy. So that's a little bit of info about the film. Now let me get into what I liked about this movie. So some of the things I really did like in this film was number one, the Javier Botet's performance of Dracula, fucking dope, y'all. The moments where he does have like the practical makeup, even when it goes into the CGI moments as well, I thought were captured really well. I'm sure you've seen the trailers for this, and they actually have Dracula looking more like in creature form, and that makes it like so creepy, y'all. Like the dude looks like a straight monster. Now again, I'm not gonna really dig into too much spoilers, but what I will say is that he's still like an intelligent being in the film. So I don't think that this is just like he's just kind of like a mindless this is like a mindless creature movie. Definitely not. He's still Dracula. He just looks more horrifying in this movie. Now, speaking of Dracula, I feel like they handled the kills really well in this film. Like I liked they made the, like, it's because it's a very like monstrous Dracula, right? So like the bite segments when he's going to like suck the blood, like that shit was brutal. It wasn't like no like, you know, pretty like light bite, like it's all seductive and shit. Now this dude was ripping in the fucking flesh and drinking the blood, and it was just like, damn, like this is brutal. I really like that kind of gore aspect to it. I wish there was a little bit more gore, but the gore that was there, I did like, and the effects were quite good. And speaking of effects, I did like the effects overall. Like I thought the ship looked really good, the water looked really good, all the makeup looked great. Like all the effects in the film, really well done. There's also some really beautiful shots in this movie, and I'm sure you've seen from the trailer, like the shots of like Dracula's silhouette, or him standing in the rain or in the darkness, and you see like the lightning flashes. A lot of the like framing and setup of the shots and the coloring of this film was like really good, very moody, very dark, very like a slight gothic feel to it. Like I really like the way that they handled the cinematography and all those elements of the film. It looked really good. There's definitely some memorable shot moments within the film that some of them you even see in the trailer. Now, speaking of the performances, I thought all the performances were really good in this film. All of them are very believable. You could feel the fear, you could feel the anxiety, you could feel the stress. Like all the performances I thought were top notch. I liked all of them, even the like supporting cast, like the people that assisted in getting the crates, that housed Dracula onto the ship. Like even the supporting cast, like everyone did such a fantastic job performance wise in this film. Now the director was quoted at one point in some promotional interviews for this film as saying they took a lot of inspiration from films like Alien, and you can definitely feel that in this film. I don't think that it really gets close to the same like tension and like stalking of Alien, but it definitely borrows that vibe. Of course, with this film, it's a little bit different because of the rules, right? With Alien, he can kind of be around at any point. With this film, he can only come out at night. Now, that actually is something that I liked, because then you had these breathable moments where they're basically prepping for the night. And I just think that idea is really good. It gives you that moment to like breathe. It gives the story time to give you more info about what's going on, give you a little bit more like character play, more drama in the moments of less stress, less anxiety. And I like the way that they handled that, because once night was coming, it was fucking on, and the terror was initiating. And along with that, since they're all stuck on a boat, the movie is very contained, and I always like contained horror films where there's really no place to run, there's really no place to go. You can hide, but there's really not a lot that you can do. That kind of up the antics, that ups the tension, the creep level, the terror level. And you can definitely feel that within this film. The boat, it's like kind of big, but not really. So you kind of know the layout for the most part, and so you can kind of picture how things play out. You kind of map everything in your head, and I don't know, that just adds to that level of tension in the movie that I really liked. Now, another thing that I liked with this story, and I don't know, I'm sure this is kind of them doing their own thing, and it's not really related to how the chapter might have concluded in the book. I've never read the book, so I can't say. But the way the film concluded, I know there's some mixed reactions online with how it concluded, with it not really feeling like the rest of the film. But for me personally, I actually really like the way it concluded. It definitely, sets up the potential for like a franchise or a sequel, but I'm on board with that. In fact, I would love to see them take this Dracula and then maybe even do like a Van Helsing series or something like that. That shit would be dope. Please do that. I think that would be so dope, y'all, if they did like some sort of new franchise off of this with Van Helsing or something like that. I don't know, but keep this Dracula and do something wild like that. That would be really cool. Now let's get into some of the things that I did not like about this movie. Now, one thing I didn't really like, and it's kind of unfortunate, is that there wasn't enough like hunting and stalking for me. It's definitely in the film. There is a little bit there, but there wasn't as much as I would have liked. Because Dracula has moments where he does like stalk some of these victims, but I was hoping that it would be a little bit more drawn out. Like, you kind of can sense when the kills are coming, and they do happen kind of quick. And I was hoping they would be a little bit more drawn out, almost like him playing with the food sort of thing, and him like really hunting. Again, granted, they are on a contained ship, but I would have liked to seen some more of that, like just kind of sick mind play type of stuff playing out. Another thing I didn't like was, I kind of mentioned it earlier in the video, that because of the rules of this movie, right, where Dracula can only come out at night, you have the daytime to allow for like the character building moments, the backstories, the expositions, the character drama to play out. And I liked some of those parts, but some of them felt a little bit too long. And so I feel like that's where the film kind of ran into a little bit of its like pacing issues is in some of those moments. Now, along with that, to kind of piggyback off of that, another thing I didn't like, and I don't really like this in any movie, right? Like I hate when characters in movies do this, but this film does have moments, or has within it, like when you watch a horror movie, right? And the characters are in disbelief that what could be going on is what's going on. You see that a lot in like supernatural paranormal movies where like maybe it's like the husband or the partner or the wife or somebody, like there's some character, one of the characters are seeing the ghost, but the other one's like, oh, no way. Even though there's like shit actually happening, they're still like, oh, nah, man, like there ain't nothing going on in here. There's actually like that at play in this film. And I'm just like, you just watching, it's like, come on now. Like, come on, really? There's also some other kind of dumb character moments as well. Like there will be moments, I promise you, where you will yell at your screen watching the film like, what are you doing, dude? Come on now. And yes, some of that will be directed at the kid character in this movie because that's just the way that shit works sometimes. But overall, honestly, I actually really like this movie. It's not great, but it's actually pretty decent. I did enjoy watching it. I came out of it feeling pretty good. We did a out of theater reaction over on the TikTok. We also did a spoiler review over on our podcast. You can check that out too. But in general, like I actually enjoyed this film. There's some great moments here. There's some great imagery, some truly terrifying moments. I think Dracula is scary as hell in this movie. And like I said, I would like to see this version of Dracula in other films because I think he is terrifying. He's not the romantic Dracula, you know what I'm saying, the seductive one. No, this is like, I'm here to fuck shit up and brutalize and kill because I am like the apex predator in this bitch. Like that's the kind of Dracula this is, and I want to see more of this Dracula in other films. But yeah, no, this is actually, I think, a pretty decent film. It's kind of disappointing that it's not doing super hot box office wise, and critically, I think the critic scores aren't too great either. Because I actually think this is actually pretty good, and I think it's worth watching at least one time because I think it is a pretty decent horror film experience. And it's a different take on Dracula, and also it's a contained take on Dracula on this boat. It's got its problems. It's like pacing problems, some kind of dumb story elements, some kind of dumb character decision moments, and not enough hunting and stalking. But like I said, I think this is pretty good, y'all. I think it's worth watching. If I had to rate it, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I do think that's a pretty good movie. But hey, y'all, that's it for this non-spoiler review. Thank you so much for tuning in to the entire video. Hey, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you go subscribe to our social media channels on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or wherever the hell they're calling it. Subscribe to all those things, and make sure you subscribe to our podcast as well. It's up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And like I said, we did a spoiler review for this film, so you want to hear that, make sure you go check out our podcast, because it's an episode of our podcast. It's up on YouTube in video version, and it's also on Spotify and Apple in audio version, so make sure you check that out. Again, thank y'all so much for tuning into this whole thing. And if you've seen this film, drop down in the comments below what you thought about the Last Voyage of the Demeter. Are y'all on my side? You think it was actually pretty good? Did y'all hate it? What are some of the things that you like? What didn't you like? What would you have liked to see? And if they do continue this as a franchise, what would you like to see them do with this version of Dracula? Again, thank y'all so much. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.